What is up, everybody, and welcome into the Keeping It 1000 podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. I'm Adam Matas. I'm joined by the star of the show, or co-host of the show, whichever you prefer, George Karl. What do you think? Co-host?
Co-host.
All right. Am I the star then?
This might be starless.
Okay. I think that's more accurate. Starless. We got a lot to get to. Don't forget, guys, if you have a question, you can either super chat it or super producer Kale is going to be monitoring the chat for your questions for Coach. And at the end of the show, we're always going to get to those. But we're going to preview this Nuggets Sun series. I can't wait. Second round series. And also look back. We're going to start, though, with a look back at the Portland series. We talked about that series twice, once before, once in the middle of it, but we didn't catch up after games 5 and 6. And, you know, Denver always goes 7 when they win. It always seems to take them with this group. They got it done in 6, and I think one of the reasons, or the main reason they got it done in 6 was I thought Nikola Jokic played some of the best, maybe not complete games, because it was halves or it was moments here, but I thought when he took over, especially in Game 6 in that second half, it was as dominant as I have seen him, at least in a 24-minute stretch. Looking back on that series, I want to ask you about Jokic first, because you had some tweets that sound like you were pretty impressed. What did you see from him in the closeout Game 5 and Game 6?
I see the best player in the NBA right now. I see a guy that has a will and a belief, and he's going to win.
Yeah. And
it rubs off everywhere it goes. It rubs off on the coaches. It rubs off on his role players. It rubs off on the bench. You know, he has his skill of making people better, making people believe, and you know the game. You know, he has so much different ways of controlling the game, passing the ball, rebounding the ball. His defense has become above average, maybe good at times. There's still the bad moments there too, but I mean, and then his ability to make the three ball. I mean, he took a three shot
right on Nurkic,
about a yard behind the line. I've never seen him do that, and it hit nothing but net.
It was a big shot too,
and a big play. You know, in the last 3-4 minutes of the game. And what was funny after Game 5, I've been in that Game 6 where everybody thinks you're going to go home and win, and I just thought Damian in that Game 5 was unbelievable. I mean, he's godlike. I mean, that game is kind of like Murray. You know, Murray had a couple of those games last year in the bubble that he might never have a game like that again on that stage in that place. And I just think emotionally it drains you when you don't win when you play that game. And you know, I remember when we went to the conference finals and we lost Game 5 and we played a really good game down in L.A. And everybody thought we were going to come home and take care of the Lakers and go back down to L.A. And we kind of, you know, we came out flat in Game 6. And then I thought Damian ran out of gas.
Yeah.
And the one thing I'm a little worried about, it seems Jokic in the Game 4, 5, and 6 in the fourth quarter, it's not that he didn't play well, but his body looked to me a little fatigued. And we're just in the beginning of the stages of the playoffs. And that's the amazing thing about the playoffs is it's a marathon race of intense, incredibly enthusiastic, and you know, playoff physicality and mental fatigue, all that stuff. You got to handle the fatigue problem at times.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you about that a little bit later on because this next series there's one day off in between every game, all the way up until Game 7. So I do wonder if that's going to be a factor. But I want to keep looking back on the series. I'm with you that I thought Jokic looked fatigued, you know, the back half of that entire series. The reason I didn't think he did in Game 6 in the closeout, and I think part of that, and he sort of spoke to this after the game, Michael Porter got off to an incredible start. I think, 22 points? I don't remember what it was, 22, something like that, 21 in the first quarter. And I thought Jokic's body language in that first half was a little bit of okay, this buys me a quarter. Not to take off, but just I get to be in the background where he hadn't been really for this whole series. He got to be in the background a little bit. He picked up the fouls. He goes to the bench. And the story I thought in the series had been great first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, looks a little tired, whatever. I thought this one, getting to take that first half a little bit lighter than usual saved him, because you mentioned that three-pointer. There were a couple plays before that, but that three-pointer to me was the first time I felt like Jokic said, guys, this is over. You don't know it yet, but it's over. And he just had a look in his eye with energy and aggressiveness and to your point, confidence to close that out.
Well, what I'm amazed at is how he's lifting, Morris.
Yeah.
To play at a higher level than he's ever played at before. That Austin Rivers comes in here and hits big shots in the last 5 minutes of two games, and Monte just playing unbelievably well, and the little kid from Argentina.
Yeah.
He's not a big stat guy, but he is a starting point guard in an NBA playoff game. And do you want him to play better? Yeah. But are you accepting what he's giving you? Hell yeah, you're accepting what he's giving you. And I was talking with some coaches over the weekend about the matchup with Chris Paul. And some guys think Chris Paul is going to dominate him. And in my mind, there's something about that kid that he doesn't get dominated.
Yeah.
He might not play well. He might not have a great stats. But the way he plays is the right way. And he plays every possession with such an energy that it's contagious, and everybody likes being around him.
You mentioned, how you actually mentioned this, I think, off air afterwards. We were talking about the low man in help and how Portland kept putting him, Marcus Morris, Marcus Howard, Monte Morris. They put little guys in the help. And if you're going to succeed at doing that, you really have to rotate hard and get as far out of the paint to stop the roller. In this case, it was Nurkic. And I thought that was one thing Facu almost never messes up. When he sees that pick and roll and the roll guy going, full sprint, 20 feet to get outside the paint and make Nurkic catch it 15 feet instead of 8 feet from the basket.
Well, in Game 4, the outcome with Portland being successful was the roll guy in the pick and roll game. I thought I had him charged for like 20 points.
Yeah.
On the guy on finding the window in the pick and roll game. And Portland didn't find that in Game 5 and Game 6. And I don't know if it was a defensive adjustment or Portland went away from the play call at times. So, I admire how the coaching staff and Jokic got to be given a lot of credit to trust these guys and give them the energy and confidence and support that allows them to play on this stage when a lot of NBA people don't expect them to play well on this stage.
What about Michael Porter? I mean, he's obviously a big piece. What did you see from him throughout this year? We talked a little bit about it early on, but if you now step back and look at all 6 games of that, scored better, 26 points in each of the last 2 games. How would you grade his performance in that first round?
I'm still very much in the stage of, I think you want to force Michael Porter Jr. to be a star, and it's a process. And and the process is he had a hell of a first quarter and a bad 3 quarters.
Right. Yep.
And that highs and lows is not a star player. A star player is solid to good and at times great.
Right.
And they don't go below solid. And Michael Porter Jr. goes below solid way too often for me to say he's a star yet. But you got to be happy as hell. I mean, he showed courage. He showed a confidence to come out in a big game and be the best player on the court for an extended period of time and give his team a hell of an opportunity on the road in a difficult building.
I love that you used the word courage, because this is the second time you've now used that on the show. The last time you used it was when I asked you what are the Nuggets going to miss most about Jamal Murray, and you said his courage. And in particular, his courage in the fourth. And I think and it's funny because I always think about these things in basketball terms, but you're right. Just a guy that says, you know what, our backs are against the wall. This doesn't look good. Everybody's eyes are on me, whatever. Don't care. Like, no fear. And the Nuggets do have some of those guys. And I think your point about Michael Porter in that game, and especially in Game 5, I think, all eyes were on him. He had 3 points in Game 4. He had been going down, trending down, and he stepped up with some courage, albeit inconsistently, but he stepped up with some courage and at moments, and those moments really mattered. it's just funny because I think courage is a weird way, but a great way to put it. We always say clutch. I think it's actually courage to put yourself in position to be clutch.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to tell you, I mean, there are a lot of players, and I'm probably on this list along with them, that can play basketball in the regular season. And a lot of players can play basketball for 40 minutes, but not play basketball the last 8 minutes of a game. But the great players, the money players, like the end of the game much more than they like the beginning of the game. They like that moment, that stage. They get lifted. Their confidence goes up. It doesn't matter how they played the whole game. They have the courage or the cojones to go out there and say, "Give me the ball. I'll take the responsibility."
I'm not trying to give Porter to sign him that he now has playoff courage or this or that. There were little moments in there where you really question, like, hey, man, spotlight's on you. And I thought at least early in both Game 5 and Game 6, he showed that. And then, of course, Game 5, it was one of the best passes I'd ever seen from Jokic to the corner that just lifts over the outstretched hands of Covington, actually made Covington fall down. But Porter had to finish that play, and that was sort of a big first moment. Like, let's see how you do under pressure, and he stepped up with it. So I'm encouraged by his process of gaining courage in the playoffs. Is that fair?
Well, I mean, I'm very happy to applaud all the stuff that's happening for the Denver Nuggets, because fans should understand that, you know, they're doing more than they probably are capable of doing. Hopefully it'll continue. You know, my NBA side of playoff basketball is, I think we should eliminate the first round.
Okay.
Because the first round there's a lot of things that happen in the first round everybody gets excited about, but very seldom does it ever not. The truth comes out.
Yeah.
The truth comes out in the first round. The upsets happen more so in this round, and the magic of who's going to win a championship happens starting in this round.
Were there any surprises in the first round for you as you look around the league? Was there anybody that you thought, not just Denver, I'm talking about around the NBA, that you were like, wow, they surprised me on this one?
I was a little disappointed. I thought Dallas would get through.
You did?
Clippers. I did.
Interesting. Is that more because of your faith in Dallas or distrust in the Clippers?
I didn't see Leonard. I didn't see Kawhi Leonard doing what he
was fantastic.
I mean, what he did in the last 3 games. Now we know what a great player is.
Right.
I mean, for him to do what he did in Game 6 and then come back, and then, of course, in Game 7. And Dallas probably needs one more.
Definitely do.
One more talented player, maybe 2. But I just thought there was a magic to Luka a little bit that was going to carry them to an upset of LA. And I just don't like how LA Clippers has played all year round.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are people that are probably predicting they're going to win it now. And I'm not there. I don't think you can play inconsistent basketball and mess with the game of basketball as much as they did. And I believe there's a karma to the game of basketball.
I hope there is.
And the Clipper karma right now, you know, the wealthiest owner in the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much stuff that I'm going, come on, man.
I feel the same way with Brooklyn. I mean, I look at it and I go, okay, you got the Clippers and you got Brooklyn, and they came about the way that they did. Outside of that, you've got Utah. They did this the hard way, in my opinion. You've got Phoenix. They did it the hard way. You've got Denver, obviously. You've got Milwaukee. You've got Atlanta. You've got the 76ers who did the tanking, but they've also kind of been a process step by step. So I look at it at least and I say, there's a lot of teams that have done the slow build to get where they are. Then there's 2 teams that did the quick, the kind of quick reset. But I'm hopeful because I think it's good for the NBA if a team succeeds doing it the slow, hard way, which for a lot of organizations is the only option they have.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I just watched the games last night with Philly and Atlanta.
I love them.
Philadelphia better be careful, because not only they might lose, they might get beat. They might get beat quick.
Talk about courage.
But you have Embiid. The best player in the court is Embiid, and he has no chance of winning that game if Atlanta doesn't throw the ball away like a bunch of high school kids in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, they collapsed.
But I mean, Atlanta dominates them in many ways, not only at the point guard position, but their perimeter guys played better than their perimeter guys played. And, I know Embiid had 39, but I didn't feel he was a force.
Right.
It reminded me when I coached Cousins in Sacramento. And I said to my coach,